Alright, so this video is about a week overdue. Couldn't be helped because had to get the exhaust manifolds worked on. One of them was replaced, one of them was reused, new gaskets on all of them. So I had the truck for all of about 2 days before I turned it into the shop. Went on another out-of-town trip. Now I finally got the truck back and I got to address a couple things. So Procharger, that's it right there. You can see the intake piping. They reused my box, which I love. So they reused my box. I think they also added, you can see right down in there, crankcase breather maybe? I forget which one that is. I think it's a crank breather. Well, there's two breathers they added into this box port, which is kind of cool. There's no filter on that, which makes me want to address that in a later date. I mean, I've got the air pumps intake, I've got the main engine intake, piping goes through, feeds the supercharger over there. Big long belt with that one. And they ended up, in case you're doing this on this truck, they ended up using that belt instead of the one that actually came with it. And you see they've marked an M here, so the methanol is actually in the washer fluid tank. You can see the pipe going down there. Maybe you can see it in there, I don't know. Well, that charge pipe ends up coming out here outside, coming down here to the intercooler. And the intercooler's laid in the best they could do with this setup. You can kind of see they built a nice little air intake box for it. You can see that down there, trying to direct as much air. I don't know if I'm happy with this intercooler or if there's much I can do about it. It's got other lines in the way. But we'll see if this one holds up. If it doesn't, may have to find a different one to do the job. I'm thinking one that's actually wider, but you only have so much room to crank over there. So it's just, this truck is the epitome of 10 pounds in a 5-pound sack. So many competing interests here. I need the winch, I absolutely need the winch. Procharger needs the intercooler. So the other part of the intake pipe ends up doing the same thing on this side. Comes on in up over here and into the stock intake location. So that's where that ends up. Pretty straightforward. I would say if you've got an old OBS like this, and this is the 454 on this thing, Procharger says they're discontinuing this kit. So if you were going to do this, you're going to have to end up going to a fabricator like Turbo Labs, is who I took this to. And they're going to have to figure out how to do all this. Because the biggest thing you would need is this bracket right here. And that's what locates this where it needs to be. Not much else had to move for the truck. I'm seeing wiring all over the place. Okay, that goes to ground, that goes to power. That's got to be from a meth injection. I like this style braid. This stuff, it gives me ideas for the future versus the old school stuff like this. But they crimped and heat shrunk. That's nice. So that's pretty good. You can see right down there is the pump for the meth injection. And the thing the meth injection does is it solves a lot of issues that will allow you to use the stock ECU. I'm still running that MSD box down there, but those two in conjunction with the meth injection kit means you can run the stock ECU. You do not have to do the 0411 swap, which is what we were looking at doing. Not doing that saved me probably about $500-600 bucks. The meth actually allows everything to burn cleaner, neater, less problems of, I don't know, you get it leaned out and you get detonation and things like that going on without it. So I haven't yet traced down the lines, haven't become familiar with where it all goes and ends up. How's this looking? Power steering is going to be a bugger to get to now. That's funny. That's going to be hard to get to. Luckily, a lot of my power and steering stuff in here is new. When I'm looking at all the lines, trying to trace it all out, figure out where the meth injection goes to and comes from, and I'm seeing up there, it's basically piggybacked onto, like I said, the washer fluid. And you can run washer fluid through your meth injection system, and that does okay. But at Turbo Labs, they're saying that's only like 25% methanol, and the rest is water and detergent and stuff like that. So it is better to run straight methanol in here. And that methanol being an alcohol, it'll clean your windshields. And it's actually, you know, being alcohol, it's gonna be freeze resistance. The problem I've got that I got to deal with today, that's empty. Shouldn't be. It's not empty enough that the light has come on under there. So if Adam's watching this, and hopefully it doesn't concern him that way. But no, the light hasn't come on. But I have a leak in here. I know I've had a leak in here for a while. To get to that, I have to remove my battery tray and everything. I got to get down in there. I got to pull this bottle out. I'm hoping I can just weld this bottle back together with some JB Weld and seal up the leak wherever it is. If not, new bottle is about 40 bucks. And I may have to do that. Don't know when that would arrive. That would be a pain in the butt because pulling all of this out sucks. That's why I'm talking more than I'm doing right now, because I'm not looking forward to this job. But it's got to get done, so time to get to work. I don't know what else to say about that and the installation on this. Like I said, I took it to a good, you know, supercharging, turbocharging type lab, type shop, where they know how to fab things up, they know how to make it work. They had a dyno, they dyno tuned it and everything. If you're not following along on Instagram, you missed all of that. As it is right now, this. So Adam says they looked up a stock Suburban at the rear wheels with stock tire sizes and all that's going to give you somewhere around 160 to 175 horsepower at the rear wheels. This, with 488 gears and 37-inch tall tires, was doing 308 horsepower on cold pulls and about that much, a little more than that, about 350 in torque. I know I gave the numbers on Instagram. I don't remember off the top of my head right now. So, if you talk about all your parasitic loss through the transmission, the driveline, all that kind of stuff, you're in the neighborhood of 500 horsepower at the crank on this motor now. When stock, it's 290. I feel that totally when I'm driving now. And even if I'm keeping my foot off the floor and I'm just driving, it drives totally different. I love it so much more. It moves like I want it to move. I don't know, I haven't been through enough fuel tanks yet to see if the fuel mileage has improved as it should, as I've been told it will when you supercharge something. You know, a big block motor like this, you should gain some miles per gallon. But what I'm really worried about is the smiles per gallon that I've gained, and that's what I'm loving. So, all right, I need to stop talking, I need to start doing. Let's get to this problem, because I've got to have that meth operational. Oh, side note too is I think the meth, having that in there too, should keep my emissions at a level that is acceptable to the state of Utah. That it should keep the emissions clean, because you're injecting methanol into the combustion mixture, it should run cleaner. We'll find out when it comes time to re-register. All right, here we go. So when I installed this battery, I tried to keep all of the lines running this way, so I can just pop these off and pull the battery out, replace the battery easy. They put stuff up to the front. However, there's enough slack here, I think I will be able to pull it all down to the back. They did what I would have done. They put it there and there. However, I'm going to pull it all to the back and zip tie it in with these looms here. And that should get it all out of my way. So all of this comes in from this side over here. I'll just line it back in here and bring it up here. That should be better, so I can get to the batteries easier. I'm looking at that. It runs down to the pump there. So yeah, I should be able to take this line, run it straight in here. And I know this line goes to the controller that's on the center console right now. Let's give you a shot of that. So yes, right in here, AEM meth controller. I'm leaving it at the settings they set it at, because they set those on the dyno. Leave it right there. Notice there's a fuse on the side there. That's good to know. I hadn't seen that before. But there is a light that'll warn me when the meth is too low and it's not injecting anymore. So I should be able to see all that. Not sure what this vacuum line is for. That's curious. I'm guessing if this reads vacuum, and that may be what one of the T's I saw in there on the vacuum lines. If this reads vacuum, then that tells it how and when to inject, you know, how much. I'm getting on full PSI, start PSI is lower. Curious. I don't know too much about these systems. I just know what I've read in the magazines. So, should be cool. You know, error code number 1 is just low fluid. That's the main thing I want. I want this visible so I can see when I'm low on the fluid. Again, I've got a 5-gallon can of meth, so I can fill it up when I need to, when I look at it. Out on the road, If I'm out and about and I can't get any methanol pure and clean, then I probably will do washer fluid. Hopefully that's perfectly fine, diluting it a little bit. But yeah, should be good. Alright, there we go. Run it up back here. I'll zip tie it in a second. Try to keep it out of the way. But I have the power supply running in here where I'd prefer it to be. I have the ground running in through this boot to here where I'd prefer it to be. So now it's all on the back side, no wiring hanging off the front. Makes it easy to replace a battery when you need to. Funny little, is that arcing that does that? Or just some corrosion? What have I got going on there? Crack right here, is that a concern? I don't know enough about these excess batteries. Maybe someone put a foot or a knee there and cracked it. Hopefully I'm okay. Battery's still charged. I have still plenty of voltage on this thing, especially since I've got a Power Master right there. So I'll just keep an eye on that stuff. These are supposed to be really, really good batteries. You definitely pay a price for them. They're AGM, so the glass mat kind of stuff with the gel. Alright, anything else I need to look at before I start pulling this battery out? I think I'm okay. I've got the wires where I want them. I don't know. I'll figure out, when I get the battery out, I'll figure out how to tuck that in more. I'm not sure where they're back there. There's a yellow wire going to something there. 12 volt is kind of my world. I may not understand everything that's going on with the system itself, but I do understand the wiring, and I do pay particular attention to mine. I do not like how all the loom has disintegrated on that. Definitely not heat resistant loom. I'll fix that on another day. But yeah, you can see I've done a lot of additionals in here. And if you've been following me for a while, you know my truck's got a lot of additional accessories. Alright, let's get to work on this. Alright, as I'm chasing things down, I don't like how much excess I have there. I was wishing there was a plug right in there, but there's not. Because then I can just shorten it up right there. I may have to do what they did. They obviously spliced and shortened it right there. I don't like this hanging around out here. I also see, here's the tubing running here into the injector right there, which makes sense right after the turbo, well, after your supercharger, turbo style supercharger. You inject it right there because that's where the air is going to be the hottest, because the compression that's going through, it gets hot there. So you inject it right there to cool it off as much as you can right there. That makes sense to me. I don't like how much that has to move around, so I'll put some more zip ties on that, keep it out of the way. I'm pretty sure that line, I can see it, I don't know if you guys can see this on the camera, that goes to the pump. It seems like a lot of line just to get around there. I don't know if it can be shortened. Maybe I'm smart enough to do that, I don't know. But I gotta get all this out of the way so I can see more. I can see more of what's in there, see if I can do shorter routing. If I can fix this wire, because look at that, that wire can easily end up inside that fan. Bad news. Really bad news. So that's got to get shortened. Yeah, all this out of the way will make that easier to shorten. But yeah, now you're seeing a little bit more of where they routed things and what things are doing. Once I get the battery out of the way, we'll see even more. So battery tray. My truck already had a battery tray, just not two batteries. That's something the K2500s will do, because they're setting it up for if it's a diesel truck or not a diesel truck. The factory just runs everything through. Power plant gets put on later. Diesel trucks have two batteries. Down in here, 10mm bolt into the fender. That comes out. Save it up here. And your tray. Get it past all the junk that's in there. Your tray comes out. Boom, there's the tray. Here's my bottle. How do I get my bottle out? I've got a screw here, and there's another 10mm bolt right down in there. So get that out, I should be able to get my bottle. Try to figure out, it's funny, there's blue stain in there. I haven't used blue in a while. I usually was using the Rain-X stuff. But I've got to get this out of here so I can inspect what is going on. I think that's power. No, it's ground to the MSD box. And here we see the meth injector hole. Why am I missing a bolt right there? 10mm factory style one like that. don't know if I have one. Between the solid axle swap and the Procharger, a lot of stuff has been ripped apart in here. Alright, so I think that's all I got to do is pull this right here and that, and I think I can pull this out. The line for the bottle is right here. It got crimped a little bit right there. I know when I picked it up from the solid axle swap, and this is the second time I pulled this apart, that my fluid wasn't running. My mistake then was not going far enough. I should have pulled the whole bottle out and found the leak. I did not. I was lazy. And now I'm paying for it now. This would have been a non-issue had I repaired it back then. There's about a gallon that fits in this thing, and it's all just tucked into that wheel well portion that's right in there. Well, yeah, that line goes to the windshield wipers. I'm not sure. I was looking for where and how do they line in. I mean, you can feel stuff in here. I'm not able to show it, but you feel it goes down there, and it's got a little clip in right there where it feels in. Where does this have its pickup? Do they tee in at the bottom of that? If so, they had the bottle out. Oh, and I should have said something to them. That's my mistake, not theirs. I don't like how that rubs right about there. I may go put something on it for an anti-chafing. Piece of rubber hosing or something that I've got. I'll put it right there. Because I don't like that sharp edge. I'm going to have meth freaking squirting all over the place in a hot engine bay. Bad idea. Again, even though I had another shop work on this, and yeah, they did great work. They did great work. I am going to look over everything, and I'm going to check it out to be what I want it to be. Alright. Just looking at what I've got. How they did this. They just mounted that with its bracket right into this factory bracket. This right here, don't tell emissions, but the charcoal canister's gone. It's totally and completely gone. I don't know that it's going to be necessary at this point. Sure hope not. This, looking at the colors of these lights, excuse me, those are the lights. That's all your marker lights, headlights, all that kind of stuff. That's what's going on here. I may need to rip this off right now. It goes in right here. That's in the ABS controller box. Why is it there? I'm doubting myself as to what those wires are now. They look like the right colors for relighting. They could be ABS stuff. Maybe I'm totally off. I don't like how corroded all that is. Again, there's so much stuff in here that's corroded like this. That's a big job. I'm going to have to replace all of that. That's another day. And I don't know if I'll even make a video off of that because it's simply going through and rechasing the looms and putting something better on. Oh, every time you look at your truck, you find more stuff you need to do. You know, I shouldn't complain. We live in a desert, so getting a lot of good spring rain is good for us. Fill up our reservoirs, fill up our water table, all of that. Well, excuse the rain noise in the gutters and stuff, but it was pretty stuck down in there. Having a hard time getting it out. I ended up loosening up every single bolt on the front of the inner fender. Somehow it's pinched in there pretty tight. And what I've got, I can't pull it all the way back because right there's the tap for the meth injection. And I don't know how to release that. I don't want to play around with that. That seems to be tight. That seems to be fluid tight. What doesn't is here, this pump. I think the O-ring that sits right here is what's leaking. And so, goodness, I'm about to go freaking janky on this one and secure it the best way I can, and hopefully it holds, because I need this to hold. I'm going to silicone the shit out of it because I don't know where to get another one of those. But otherwise, get that done, get that sealed up, put everything back together, shorten this wire, make sure this tube is actually secured more. I don't want it anywhere near that belt. So it's just a lot of cleanup really, if I can get that sealed. That's feeling around the whole tank, looking around the tank before it got soaked by the rain. I didn't see anywhere else the water's coming out. I think the tank is solid. I don't need to do anything about the tank. I think these gaskets up here are solid. They're sealed. So I think basically what I'm at is that. That's got to be where it's leaking at. And I say that because it was leaking before. And one of the things that's interesting is it didn't leak in the wintertime. And I think that when it's cold enough, it all contracted enough that it wouldn't leak. And once it warmed up, there was enough heat to expand that, and then it started leaking again. And being at that low a point in the tank, it'll leak out the entire tank. There still is some methanol in here. I just leaked a bunch of it out just playing around with it. So I don't think that the meth injection system was out of meth yet, because this is at probably about the lowest point you can get it at as far as the pickup for the meth pump. So I just need to deal with this. Got to get to that somehow. Oh goodness, I'm gonna silicone the crap out of it and hope it holds, because if it doesn't, I don't know. New pump. I also looked at this end of it right here. I don't think that would be it. That seemed a little loose, so I put a zip tie around it, try to tighten it up. That'll hold. It has a barb on it on that side of it, so I think that'll hold just fine. But this just slips on in there and sits in there, and I guess it's supposed to hold tight, so I'll silicone this part of it, and I'll silicone the outside of that. There's no way I can show that with the camera equipment I have, so you just have to trust me. That's what I'm up to. And hopefully that silicone will hold this stuff together, and hopefully it holds against meth. Different alcohols do different things. Silicone should be relatively resistant to that. Then I got to put it all back together, because the line for the washer fluid, it has tabs it sits in back there. You can kind of see the channels back there. Well, I can. I don't know if you can. When you put it all back in the channels, the wire in the channel, here's the plug for the pump. You know, there's its power supply. A blue and a red wire. That's fun. Not a color convention I would use, but one's got to be ground, one's got to be power. Red's probably power, my guess. I would have used black for ground if it was me, but I don't know what GM did. You can see I've got some hose tied around that, zip tied up, so that'll be right there to keep that from rubbing through, so I don't have a problem there later. Oh, I'm talking because this sucks. Let me get back to work and get it put together. All right, so got all that back in. Things are routed in better methods, better ways. Might have wanted a little bit more slack on this one, but it should be all right. I'll get the battery slipped in, get this put back together. One of these days, I need to do a better over-the-top mount for the battery, because this just uses this clamp that's factory. Don't like it. I want one that clamps over the top of the battery. I'll do that eventually. One of the things I noticed while I was working, there was nothing on this stud, and that's the other part of the battery tray being held in. So fender washer and a nut should hold that in. I'll keep an eye on that. Had to pull every single freaking bolt in here. It's nuts, but I got it done that way. So everything should be good. I routed the wires around this way. Put a little bit of, I don't have much loom there, but I had some of the split loom. Routed around that way rather than having to tear apart what had already been crimped and heat shrunk and was already secured and working. Crap, I just forgot. I need to tie that in. So I need to get a zip tie for that. So I want that away from that belt, tied tight to the fan so it doesn't have any problems there. Bouncing around, catching the fan belt, that'd be nasty. Methanol everywhere inside here, no good. All right, do that, put the battery in. I'm taking my time. I'm letting that silicone set up as much as I can is the idea, so that hopefully that seals it. Because otherwise I don't know what to do. Go get a whole new freaking, I don't know where you get that O-ring at. It's a specific kind. Maybe I could find one, I don't know. I'm hoping that silicone just freaking boogered all in there will do it. So, let's get back at it. Nice rainy May day. All right, there it is. Got it done. It occurs to me, maybe I shouldn't have poured an entire gallon in there. Maybe only a quarter or a half of a gallon, because there's so much water pouring down through this. I can't tell if I've got a leak or not. That seems to be mostly water, which is probably just from the rain. I'm hoping that's all it is, because now I can't tell. So I have to keep an eye on it next day or two, and hopefully that fixes it. Hopefully that silicone is freaking sealed up where that leak was at, and it'll stay sealed, and I'll be fine. If not, dang it. But there's a good overview of the Procharger at the beginning, plus me looking at that washer bottle. If your washer bottle leaks, that is a highly likely place for it to go from. I don't know where to get that O-ring. I haven't really researched it. You probably can. I probably could. And I might if I'm still leaking. I might go look for that O-ring. But gave you also a look into how I wire my stuff together and where it's all at. I need to clean everything up in here. That's funny. Every time you look at the truck, you look at other stuff you need to get done. But if you come this far, appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Oh, don't forget to follow on Instagram. There's a lot of other things I do there that I don't show because it's just not long enough for a video. But it's a little short thing that might show up on Instagram that you might find interesting as well. All right, we'll catch you in the next one.